This is Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque, continuing 16 years on air and online, helping you succeed in buying, selling, and investing in property. The best real estate strategies out there just for you.
Welcome to Real Estate This Week. Hi again, I'm Stephen Gasque, and I'm delighted you're here as we talk about buying a house in 26. That's right, a brand new year with brand new opportunities to get the house you really want. Mortgage interest rates are okay. There are more homes on the market in many areas, and buyers have a pretty good shot at making it happen. Let's talk about it now with a pro. Joining us is Linda Rheinberger, real estate agent with Desert Winds Realty and Property Management, and the owner of One Source Consulting, LLC, in Las Vegas. Linda has been helping buyers and sellers succeed for nearly 40 years. She's the past president of the Las Vegas Realtors, and she also served as a regional vice president for the National Association of Realtors, representing the Rocky Mountain states. Linda, welcome to Real Estate This Week.
Well, thank you. Nice to be here, Steve.
Linda, I am so glad you're here. And tell me, how's business in the wonderful city of Las Vegas?
You know what? It is doing well, but the secret isn't quite out yet. So let's keep it between us.
That Las Vegas is not just a place for vacations, but it is a spectacular place to live.
True statement. No, I've lived here 40 years this month, and it has gone by very quickly. It's a very dynamic town, but it has seen its shares of ups and downs due to the nature of the employment scenario, being mostly in hospitality and tourism. But so far, as mentioned, it is our secret that the market is doing well. Interest rates lowered to near 6%. The buyers are back, and the sellers are easing inventory into the market. So once the secret is out completely, then we have to worry about that inventory issue again, which not only we see here, but throughout the country.
So let's tell everyone listening to this that please, if you're interested in buying a place in Las Vegas, listen carefully and then move quickly, right?
Absolutely. And that's the advice I give to my buyers, because they were lulled into submission over the last year, and with uncertainty and so forth and higher interest rates. And now we have favorable rates. They're not as favorable as we'd like to see them, but they have gone in the positive direction, especially this month. And now that holidays are over, people are turning their attention to business, and business is also finding properties.
Excellent. And Linda, I know that you're an expert in so many areas of real estate, from property management to being an expert witness in court. And also, you've been helping buyers and sellers for nearly 40 years. So let's draw on some of that experience and some of that knowledge. If I were a buyer coming to Las Vegas and I wanted to buy a home there, where would I start?
Well, the first thing you would do is you would meet with your professional. I think you knew that was going to be my answer. It's not so much where do you start logistically, or as far as getting things together as far as a plan, but you want to meet the expert. You want to meet with the realtor who knows the market, who knows that all real estate is local. And you also want to find out exactly what would be needed in order to accomplish your goal.
Okay, and so we have that meeting. And what will you ask me, and what should I be telling you to help you help me?
Well, the first obvious question is, what type of property are you looking for? Will you be occupying it as a primary residence? Is this a vacation home, a second home perhaps? Or are you looking as an investor at first? And just tell me something about yourself, your goals. Are you employed? Are you looking to change jobs? just the usual things so that we could guide the buyer and point them in the right direction.
Okay, and say that I'm a buyer, like many buyers, who has not yet secured any financing or even talked to a lender.
Okay.
Now, how important is that, and when should that happen, Linda?
I would say immediately after the meeting, but the meeting that we would have, the discussion that we would have would also help the professional point you in the right direction with the correct mortgage broker, bank, finance person, so that they could also add value to the transaction. In other words, are you going to be all cash? Are you going to finance? Would you like to take advantage of first-time home buyer mortgages? All of that information, very, very important. That would be step 2. Because before we go shopping, we've got to show a seller that we are ready, willing, and able. So ready, that has a lot of meanings. It would be, do we have a job? Do we need a job? And then willing, what are we willing to spend? What should we be spending? And then able, how long of a period do we need in order to make the transaction from beginning to end? Do we require a 30, a 60, a 90-day escrow? So all of these things start with the meeting, and then the very next call, once the business is settled and we have a good idea of where we're at, then you go to the mortgage banker, broker, in order to establish financing and get the ball rolling.
I see. And Linda, a lot of first-time buyers may not realize this, but one of the best things they learn from the mortgage lender is how much house they can afford.
And some people are amazed that they can afford more, but then there are others that aren't comfortable with maybe the fact that they can afford more. They have a different comfort level. So all of that plays into it, all of it.
And just a few minutes ago, you said you need to show the seller you're ready. And you mean a pre-approval letter from their lender showing that they've basically got the mortgage. It's just that the house has to appraise and they have to go through underwriting.
Absolutely. And you have to prove that, the fact that you're ready, willing, and able with a credit approval letter. And that is necessary at the point of sale. In other words, at the time that the offer is written, you have that document so that the seller will pay you some serious attention.
Okay, so Linda, we've taken 2 steps so far. One is meeting with the real estate professional. That's number 1. And the next is meeting with the lender, which is really important also. So now that those 2 steps are done, tell me, in a city as big as Las Vegas, how do we even begin to find the house?
Well, I think, Steve, the first step when we were qualifying the individual and educating them at the same time, we found out a little bit about what their motivation was. And certainly in rough terms, because we want to make sure that the lender is the one qualifying them, we're finding out budget. So that would have a lot to do with it. If I happen to find someone that would only consider a single story, would only consider a minimum of 3 bedrooms, then we could let our fingers do the walking, go on to technology and see exactly what fits where, because we don't want to waste their time or ours.
Because in the old days, some buyers would treat their realtor like the Gray Line tour, and they would go everywhere in the city just to see the neighborhoods. But I understand that now they can still do that, but that's kind of the buyer's responsibility.
It certainly is, Steve. We want to be very careful about selecting areas for people. Let the buyer select what they're comfortable with. Let us help them, guide them, do the research. But also from a safety standpoint for both the realtor professional as well as the buyer, it's best that we don't treat it the way we used to. It is definitely a different world now.
And so, Linda, say that you do find several candidates, homes that the buyer has specified would be the right size,
Okay.
in the right area,
Okay.
and something they can afford.
Okay.
What happens then once you have, say, 5 or 6 homes that could fit the bill?
Mhm.
What do you do then?
We start to make appointments. We want to make sure that we're being the best that we can as buyers, that we're considerate of the seller and their situation. And another word of caution, I would really be careful about showing a prospective buyer more than 5 properties in one day, because that is a recipe for confusion. And so if we did identify, let's say, a dozen properties, maybe we break that out into 2 different days.
I see. That makes good sense. And so as we continue the search, there you are, you're seeing about 5, maybe 6 homes each day, and some of those are going to rise to the top of the pile. Now, in today's market, Linda, can a buyer just sit back and think about it for a couple of days? Or would those homes be gone if they do?
Well, if they're very dialed in on a home or so, and they really want that property, it really depends on the location and the inventory in that location, as well as the price range. If you're looking for something above a certain price point or below a certain price point, you've got to be careful there. Above a certain price point, most of the buyers are all cash. And so they don't have to worry about qualification in receiving financing. If you're looking below a certain price point where you may be competing not only with other primary second home purchasers or investors, so those may go a little quicker because more people can qualify for them. So it really depends. And when you do your homework as a good agent, you'll look at the average length of time on the market. There are no guarantees. Anybody can come in and put an offer in from underneath a buyer at any given moment. But these are things that, you would advise and also educate your client on, and not have the client feel that they're being pressured, but being realistic with them so that they understand where their strength lies and where it may not.
And you just raised such an interesting point, Linda. And that is, if you're looking for a home in Las Vegas, you're not only competing with other buyers who would like to live in that home, you're also competing with investors and people who might just want it as a second home. That's a lot of competition.
It is. It is. And so that's why it's very price sensitive if you're talking about if someone is leisurely looking and considering, or if they should have as much research and homework done in advance so that by the time they go shopping for a property, they're ready, willing, and able and prepared to make that decision quickly.
And I'm going to ask you a question now, Linda. You've got to forgive me in advance if I ask this, but if someone wants to buy a house in Las Vegas and they tell you after finding the perfect place, they're going to think about it, do you ever say, well, you'll be gambling if you do?
Well, we are a gambling town, Steve, so maybe that's not quite the wording I would use. I would just say, you know what? That's certainly your decision, and it has to be your decision. But just understand that we have seen evidence that there's been a lot of showings on this property in the last week. So if you're prepared to take your time with it, just understand we may not have this available if you wait too long. But I'm very, very calm about it because I never want people to feel pressured.
Right.
And sometimes, Steve, as you know, sometimes the best thing for a buyer to see, because they think that you're just, giving them a line, is just to let them lose a property and see that play out. And I'm not wishing that on anyone in particular, but sometimes I've had the most success when a prospective buyer has lost an opportunity because they weren't ready to move on a property in a timely basis.
I see. And Linda, as you said, speed is important. If they find the right house and it's at the right price, other people are going to want it too, so they should move quickly. Now, another question though. We've seen a shift in many markets across the country. Back in the day, the sellers were calling all the shots, and now it's more balanced in many places. So as a buyer, could I actually negotiate for a home in Las Vegas?
I think that you should always feel that you have some negotiating power, and your professional, your real estate professional, is going to let you know where the home stands, price and value, relative to some of the amenities that they're going to see. So that homework is usually done prior to any decision being made. And if there is something that is more important to a buyer, say, for example, a term of the transaction would be more important than the actual price, well, then you've got to come in stronger with the price if you want to customize your terms a little bit more. If price is what's really most important, then your terms better be solid. So certainly there's always room to negotiate in Las Vegas, in most markets, but you don't want to alienate the seller, because in the end, if the seller doesn't have a warm and fuzzy, regardless of the situation, you may not be successful in your attempt.
Linda, that is great advice, making sure that your offer will be attractive to the seller. And Linda, let me leave you with a big, important question. Let's sum it up. What would be your best advice to a person who wants to buy a house in 2026 in the wonderful city of Las Vegas?
I would say keep the offer as clean as possible. Don't complicate it. Don't make it contingent upon one item or not if you're able to avoid it, because that creates doubt and discomfort with the sellers, and they will always go for what they perceive to be more of a sure thing. So make sure that your credit is buttoned up, that your credit approval letter is solid, that you have the funds available, that you have worked things through your mind so that you are ready, willing, and able, and try not to extend the length of the escrow to where the seller is uncomfortable. However, I'm going to leave you with this. If the seller doesn't have their plan B once they sell it, and they need a little bit of flexibility, that flexibility that the prospective buyer is going to show a seller, for example, if they need a 60 or a 90-day escrow, allowing them to have that, or allowing them to lease back for a very short period of time, that would probably win the transaction more so than just a price and terms. So find out what the seller's motivation is before you tender your offer.
Linda, what wonderful advice. And I really want to thank you for sharing your advice, your experience, and your insights with us on how to win the house you love in 2026. Linda, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
You too, my friend. Linda Rheinberger, real estate agent with Desert Winds Realty and Property Management, and the owner of One Source Consulting, LLC, in Las Vegas. Linda has been helping buyers and sellers succeed for nearly 40 years. She's the past president of the Las Vegas Realtors, and she also served as a regional vice president for the National Association of Realtors, representing the Rocky Mountain states. Next time on Real Estate This Week, the big push for more homes. We'll look at massive campaigns to open more doors to more home buyers and how it might help you. The big push for more homes is next, right here on Real Estate This Week. And until then, I'm Stephen Gasque, and thank you for listening.
A brand new episode of Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque drops every Thursday, everywhere. And you're invited to listen, subscribe, and follow us. Just look for Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque. The best real estate strategies out there, just for you.